There's a bang as the doors to the surgical suite swing open. In rushes on a gurney Dalton, still tourniqueted, still phasing in and out of consciousness with Nurse Joy on one side, Doc Mack at the end of the gurney. As they slide it into position in the middle of the surgical suite, you see Nurse Joy take her position by some of the medical equipment. Doc Mack near the end of the gurney. All of a sudden you see his hands, articulated surgical tools, just start to fold and telescope out of his fingers. You can see he's got medical surgical augmented hands. Nurse Joy, with a swipe of her hands and fingers across the machines, all of a sudden there's a metascan, holographic, gruesome, three-dimensional image floating above Dalton's, above the gurney, above Dalton's foot. And you see in graphic detail the lacerations through the veins, the tears in the skin. You see all of this being highlighted and marked for Doc Mack to pay attention to. Nurse Joy turns her attention away from those machines back to Dalton and leans in. And in her most comforting voice, she says, "Don't worry, hon, it'll be over in a second." And there's a cuff that comes up from the bed and just over Dalton's arm. If one were in Dalton's position, you would feel the cooling effect from the thermodynamic cuff as it cools the location over his arm, detects the artery, slides a needle in almost seamlessly. You've got full stat monitoring through this cuff as well as arterial entry for anything they need. And with that, Dalton just slides into general anesthesia unconsciousness. Doc Mack, hands working in unison, swiftly with the robotic arms that now fold out of this table, out of this gurney, and are assisting him in this operation, swiftly removing these shards of glass one by one from his foot with just laser-like precision. And speaking of lasers, there's a laser scalpel and miniature clamps attached to some of these arms as well, deployed, gripping and holding the veins where they were adjacent to where they were severed. Doc Mack goes in with nano thread and just the most delicate artistic precision and begins with these robotic hands sewing up the veins themselves. And you see as he pulls that last suture tight, the nano threads, they pull tight and cauterize around the vein, ceasing the blood loss near instantaneously upon completion. Pulling back, Doc Mack says, "Close for me." And the table starts to take over and pulls the skin taut and tight over the various incisions that were caused by the rough, jagged shards of glass, and one by one sutures them up. And with a spray of nanomachine spray across it, you see the skin already start to heal on this foot. Doc Mack, sliding up the leg, cuts the tourniquet, returning blood flow to the area. The camera cuts. We find ourselves now in the waiting room. We see Krill, we see Troy, we see Patty, and we see a barely covered UA NRF BAU 4.2, strangely just sort of in a chair. What are you guys up to?
Patty's probably checking on Krill to see if she can use anything in her bag to help, like, with moisture condensation to ensure there isn't any further, like, spasms or, like, shocks to her different limbs and such. So, tell me how you're feeling with this blanket right here. You feeling okay? What's going on?
I feel like my hut is absolutely flooded with warning, moisture damage. Warning, moisture damage. I don't really think there's a calmness to be found right now, Patty.
Okay. Well, these towels themselves can help take up a lot of moisture, so give it 20 minutes. You'll probably be able to reduce the most of it to ensure the least amount of shocks and spasms.
I hope you're right. Her legs give out quite an awful one. But I highly doubt a towel is going to be enough. At the
It's
very
the
least, you have alcohol. And I mean pure isopropylene, not
I
what will be in your bag.
you probably have to ask the doctor for that. I have different types of alcohol, but not isopropyl at the moment.
Okay.
Terrence, from the counter, just sort of stands up and leans out a little bit. And you just sort of see this look on their face. Dearie,
Yes.
would you like maybe a pair of scrubs to change your clothes and maybe a quick shower in the employee shower?
Oh shit, you're right. Sorry, I was in work mode, and she pulls off her gloves now. Ah, show me the way.
Terrence gets up, opens the door, standing there, lithe, well appointed, androgynous, difficult to get a read on, the perfect receptionist. Just ushers you through the door, and right next to where the reception area, there is another door that says employees only, and they open the door and they say, right there in the back, right around the corner, there's a shower. There's towels right next to that, right to the shower stall. I'll have a pair of scrubs waiting for you, and Terrence points to a receptacle right over adjacent to the lockers, and says, "Just put your clothes in there. They'll be laundered for you."
Okay. I'm just saying is you can burn everything else, but that jacket you cannot burn it. Okay, that jacket, no.
Yeah, I don't care. Put them in the
Okay.
repository.
You
They'll be
do
laundered.
you have an
Anyway,
extra set of boots on you too? Because like she holds up her boot. I fucking burn myself in the field.
Terrence goes over, gets a pair of scrubs and a pair of surgical socks with the grippy feet on the bottom, and puts them with the scrubs and just places them on a stool in the room just right around the corner from the shower, and says, "There you go."
Thanks. And she just pulls off and just puts it in the locker and then immediately hits the
Terrence
shower.
just closes the door behind them. With that, the camera cuts. Karen, left behind at base, to her own devices. What are you doing?
Karen has been looking up information about her little side project for Miss Vivian. Trying to get a hold of any information about where the corporate office is.
The corporate office, the office for the import-export business is actually down in right adjacent to the docks. It's centrally located for shipping. As you're sitting there looking this information up, You hear a doosh, 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 doosh on the garage door, and you hear a voice that is relatively familiar to you. And you hear, Miss Karen? Miss Karen, are you in there?
Yes? Who is it?
It's Shigu, Miss Karen.
What's wrong? What's up?
I need to talk to you, Miss Karen.
Okay. Do you want to come in around the other side, or just
I need to ask a favor, Miss Karen.
okay? I'll open up the door.
Give me a notice roll.
+2.
Jigu is standing in front of you, looking relatively concerned. But off to the side, right around the corner of the building, you see a small face sort of just pull back. And you recognize it to be young little Max from the robbery tape. And Jigu just motions to Max and says, Max, it's okay. I promise. And you just hear from around the corner, you promise? I promise, Max. Come here. And Max just sort of darts from around the corner and takes up position behind Jigu. And is just sort of, Jigu just sort of reaches back and just gives him a little pat. And he goes, I need help, Miss Karen. And you hear from behind Max go, it's all my fault. It's my fault. And Jigu just says, don't worry about it, Max. It's not your fault. And Jigu looks at you and says, they were doing a store heist, and Natalie went around the corner trying to look for Max, and she got grabbed by one of the store employees. And NSFPD was right around the corner. And they handed her off to NSFPD. And that wouldn't be a big deal, but they handed her off to her foster parents. They're not good people. They're not good people. Karen said that if they ever, Natalie said Miss Karen, Natalie said if she ever went back to her foster parents, he'd kill her or worse. And Jigu just looks at you and catches your eye in that sort of street kid knowing look and just gives you a single nod. Jigu goes, I just need a distraction, Miss Karen. I just need a distraction.
Where and when?
I've got a car coming.
Okay.
Max, it's okay. Just stay here with Miss Karen for 1 minute. I'm gonna get back. I'm just gonna get my toolkit. Jigu runs over to the noodle stall, and you see him reemerge very quickly with a clamshell, like a hard shell backpack. And you just see him slinging this over his shoulders as he comes back to you and Max. And Max very quickly slides, just sort of tucks into Jigu again. And Jigu just sort of motions down the alleyway towards the sort of, towards like the central station side of the alleyway. As you walk down the alleyway, Max is just sort of clinging on the opposite side of Jigu. And Jigu says, her foster parents, She's never told me much, but they're not good people. I tell you their names. That'll help with whatever
You
you're
might.
planning. Their names are David and Gianna. Yeah. They're Moss. David and Gianna Moss. Yeah. If you can distract them, I think I can do the rest.
Okay.
As you get down the alleyway, the car's waiting there. And Jigu leads Max around to the other side and they get in. What do you do, Karen?
Yeah. Is the front seat open?
All the seats are open, other than the ones they've taken. It's an automated taxi.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. No, I'll get in. Front seat.
As you get in, the car starts heading out the street. Takes a right-hand turn down a side street using optimized traffic algorithms and the automatic feedback. You're heading towards the residential section of town. It takes a little bit. Along the way, there's some murmurs from Max about how, again, it's his fault. You get past the sort of industrial section, not too far into the residential section. You're still sort of straddling the boundary where things become gray as far as the zones are considered. You pull up outside a residential building that is a multi-story, apartment, sort of condo complex. It's not a mega apartment complex. It's just sort of flats stacked on top of each other, divided by a stairwell. As they pull up, Jigu looks at Max and says, "Max, I want you to go back to the hideout." And Max is like, "No, it's my fault. I can help. Jigu just sort of knows. He looks at Max and says, "It's okay, Max. You could be our lookout. How about that?" Max sort of perks up. Yeah, I can do that. And so you get out. Well, they get out.
Me as well.
Jigu looks at you and goes, "It's actually around the corner. I had him pull a little further just so we weren't getting out in front of their place." All right, Max, I want you to post up on a corner, get in an alleyway, get behind something. Don't get seen. Max is like, "Max, I've been a lookout before, Jigu. I know how to do this." It's like, "Okay. If there's anything wrong, Max, just give me a call on my codex." And he looks at you and goes, "Can I give him your contact details in case something goes wrong with me?"
Yeah.
Jigu slides over your contact details. "Okay, Max, call me first if something goes wrong. But if I don't pick up, then call Miss Karen." Okay. Max very quickly just sort of tucks into this sort of like down the street alleyway behind a trash can, and you see him pull a little piece of cardboard box in front of him, and he's just sort of hidden out but has, a view of things coming and going. Jigu looks at you and goes, "Thanks, Miss Karen."
if anyone deserves it.
As you approach the building, the entryway to the sort of condos is just a simple door in, and you can see that there are, 2 doors and stairs, and you can imagine that it's that way. And Jigu just looks at you and he goes, "It's the door on the right." And he goes, "Give me 2 minutes. Then I'll get in."
Okay.
Jigu starts walking towards the alleyway next to the building, and the camera sort of frames Karen standing in front of that doorway. Camera cuts. Doc Mack, turning his attention away from Dalton's foot, having finished that, now focusing in on the concussion protocols. Doc Mack retrieves a vial of shimmering fluid from a storage shelf and walks over to the table and places that vial in a little receptacle on the table, and you see it slowly drain. And magnetic coils in the table, near field programming coils, move and give instructions to those nanites as they find their way up Dalton's arteries, past the blood-brain barrier into his brain, where they start to engage cellular repair and they start to reduce inflammation on the whole. You hear protocol complete. Doc Mack, looking satisfied with himself, looks at Nurse Joy and goes, "You got this?" She's like, "Yes, doctor." And he sort of yanks his surgical gown off, and she starts, stripping hers off. And there's a retractable arm that comes down from the ceiling. And Nurse Joy sort of takes Dalton's legs and just starts sliding them out a little bit. And the arm just sort of grabs Dalton from the back. And Nurse Joy takes a beat, steps outside the room, comes back with a wheelchair, and in concert with this articulated arm, places Dalton's unconscious body into this wheelchair. She takes the wheelchair, starts heading down the hallway. As she's heading down the hallway, with Doc Mack ahead, the door to the employee workroom opens, and Patty is stepping out. Oh.
Sorry, you're a person at the front. Let me take a shower and get some scrubs. I smelled like shit.
Oh, I would prefer that than the alternative.
Yeah,
And Doc Mack just passes you and heads into the employee room to scrub up again. And Nurse Joy just looks at you and goes, "Well, I suppose it's not your first concussion protocol with us, so would you like to take this one as well?"
I got it. I'm just gonna move him up towards the front, and then I'll get my stuff. And Patty's limping at the moment because she's got that burned foot. She's like, "Get in a minute," and she just takes over. Dalton starts pushing him towards the front.
As you do, you walk out, and the door slides behind you. Nurse Joy proceeds to go back into the employee room.
Does he have a neck brace on at the moment?
No.
All right. Cool. Can I get a quick neck brace? I just want to keep his head elevated until he fully becomes conscious.
I'll see what I can do, she says as she closes the door to the employee locker
Thanks.
room. You return to the waiting room with Dalton.
All right. Well, here he is, Krill.
Oh, thank God. At least one of us is ceasing dying for a moment.
Well,
Genuinely, at least his foot looks okay. That
Yeah,
was
well-
Terrence hearing this sort of goes, psst.
Yeah.
I got you in.
Oh, thank you. Goodness. We weren't even sure if I was going to be able to get scheduled in for it. It's a long surgery, apparently.
Well, looks like you're in for it. And once I get my shit back, I can probably take Dalton to his apartment, let him sleep it off, and then come back and get you when you're done.
Please do. At the very least, I do not want to worry about Dalton's care and aid. Knowing that he's sleeping will make me feel a bit better.
No problem. Also,
Not to mention, Troy's seemingly not leaving as far as I can see.
yeah. Question. So I know we talked about like getting us all on the insurance policy. I've got some fucked shoulders and I've got that foot that's fucked now. Can I put myself up for like an appointment with our shit?
I'm going to be a little realistic with you.
I'm not saying right now. I'm
Jacob-
just saying like after.
Jacob is going to see these charges appear on his account at some point or another, and I'm sure there will be a mobile call to cut us off. We are on a very fine time limit here. If you want that, talk about it now, but don't be surprised by the time it comes, they say it bounced.
If it bounces, that's fine. I'm getting a little worse for wear at this point, and I got to take care of myself.
Well, we could just simply replace your shoulders.
I mean,
Bionics would make it a lot easier.
I'm not against it. Do we have the tools in our place right now for that?
No.
That's
Do
the
we
problem.
have spare parts? Yes. Good enough to make your new shoulders? Not exactly.
Yeah.
A
I just want,
facility upgrade has been on the
Yeah.
docket for a while. I'm having
we're-
some.
yeah.
No. Sorry,
Yeah.
what are you trying to say, Patty?
I'm just trying to say is I just want functional before we upgrade.
We'll probably upgrade when they're near broken.
Well, we don't have the tools for near broken right now.
All the same, I will think about how I can get you up and running in the near future.
Okay.
I do not have access to my internal projection hub, so I can't just simply stream information, documentaries, and infographics at high speeds so that I can
That's-
understand them.
I'm not too worried.
But once I can, I will prioritize looking into how I can do menial repairs like that.
Cool. In the meantime, I'm gonna go up to Karen's or what their name is, and I'm gonna just hit them up.
You do that.
And if they don't bring a wheelchair out, I don't know what they're gonna do. They're probably bringing one out for you. But anyways, she walks over to Tara and says, "Okay, I know we talked about that intake and stuff. Like, when could I set up an appointment for that?"
Give me a second.
I'm not a rush. I just
Terrence
want to get on there.
Terrence just sort of sits there.
Do you want me to walk away?
Oh, sorry. No, I was.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Sorry. You just zoned on me. I was confused.
Yeah. Not everybody's analog.
Okay. So
It depends on how today's schedule goes. Right now, we have had 2 emergencies slip in and on us.
I'm not worried about
provided-
it today. I'm
provided-
just,
Provided your friend's surgery goes adequately, we may be able to slip you in at the end of it for a quick exam.
no issue.
If we can't do today, maybe we can do this weekend or Monday.
Okay. Just whenever you're free. Or the doc is free or whatever. Thanks. And
You're welcome.
cool. Do you want me to like? Are we gonna bring a wheelchair out for Krill too? Because she isn't like really good at walking right now. Her legs are kind of fucked.
Nurse Joy is an adequate caretaker.
All right. And she
Let the
hobbles her.
professionals do what they do. Like Krill is shouting across the room. Patty, stop micromanaging people who are higher paid than you are.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
By telling them how to do their job?
I'm not trying to tell them how to do their job. I'm just asking if there's anything I need to do.
If you tell me to turn on how to turn on my
Terrence
micro.
pick up a cup of something and just sip at the straw, and just not break eye contact with this scene. Just
If you tell me how to turn on a micro manufacturer as well next time, I'm going to find a way to turn it on you.
I'm not. That's your thing. That's your thing. You know how to do that thing. I'm just doing my thing.
the door opens, and Nurse Joy's standing there and goes, "Is there a a Krillian Vox here?"
Boss? Yeah, coming.
Ooh, sweetie.
She tries to stand up, and at that very moment, her thigh just starts buzzing out on her.
Give me one moment, sweetheart. Obviously, we've got ambulatory issues.
Appreciate. I'm waterlogged.
Door closes, and moments later, the door opens again, and she's got a automated wheelchair that she's guiding towards you. She goes, do you need help into the chair?
I think I can manage that. And Krill,
Patty's standing on the other side just in case.
Like, one of those moments of where you have to just be quiet and let them have their pride moment, even though it looks painful to watch. Krill shuffles into the chair, falling over a little, readjusting. There.
She goes, okay. All right, well, and she just turns you around and starts.
Good luck, and she just shoulder bumps Krill.
Ow.
She wheels you into the back towards the exam room where all of this began for you. And she wheels you in. She says, "All right, dear, let's get you prepped for surgery in here. Then we can go down to the hall of the surgical suite. Is there anything that you want to remove? Do you have any belongings? I can put them in a bag and have them waiting for you."
Krill kind of just looks over her chrome self now, mostly exposed wires and circuit boards. I've kind of removed everything that I could. The only thing that I have to make absolute, I even left my drones at home just to be safe. I have put as much of me as I can onto the storage devices that also accompany my brain. I need them transferred. There is no ways around this. I do not know how much of my memory is in the gray matter and how much of it is in these drives.
Ooh, okay. Well, tell you what, you just hang on 1 second here, and I will go and talk to Doc Mac about that real quick. And I'm going to go also grab, I believe, your replacement body in the waiting room. So, tell you what, let's get you scrubbed up first. We'll get you cleaned up. Hold on just 1 sec. And she pushes a button on the wall, and you see an articulated arm sort of fold out. She goes, okay, just sort of hold your arms up a little bit for me. And the
There we go.
The sort of articulated arm gets in there and just sort of gently picks you up by your torso and puts you on the gurney behind you. And it just sort of folds back into the ceiling. She's like, okay, so I've got, just give me 1 second here. We'll get you sterilized for surgery. She goes over to the wall and she pulls a hose out of it with a nozzle. And she's like, I've got a non-conductive sterilizing spray here that should neutralize some of the moisture for you. We can't do much about the chunks at the moment, but given the nature of the surgery we're about to perform, I think they're inconsequential at the end of the day. So she sort of just sprays you down and just hoses you, and it's a mist, it's a fog rather than sort of a liquid that's coming out. And she
There's
just
a gentle as Krill feels some mechanical parts that have never seen the end of a brush or an air canister of air or anything, just kind of get that mist clean in there. He's like, oh, I appreciate that.
Okay, so why don't you just sort of lay down as best as your body allows on the table.
She just starts to unclip where her clothes are. Not Krill can't like just put a t-shirt over. She's literally unclips them from the side where they meet the purely mechanical, and fully strips, and then lays down.
There is, she goes, okay, so we're gonna be using a gaseous sedative for you, just until we get you into surgery, and then we'll be using a different form of general anesthesia for you. Am I assuming correctly that these are your nasal protuberances that I'm looking at?
You're the first person to assume correctly, yes.
Okay, then I will just, and she gets sort of like a nasal cannula, but like longer, and just sort of gets it down at the bottom of your sort of long protuberances, and sort of is sort of just trying to like hold it there. Like she's got them looped in, but she's just trying to like get it up, and so it doesn't pop out sort of situation.
Actually, you know what? I think I can save us a moment. And Krill just scans through. Can I make a notice check for just if there's any tools that are like mechanical based tools?
I mean, you can.
That's a 0 on the die. I think that's a +2.
3.
Or is that a +3? Right, that's what I just upgraded.
Yep.
That combi wrench there, if you can hand it to me, if that's allowed, I can alleviate the tendrils and we can simply use the ports under them.
Nurse Joy hands you the tool.
As she does, she actually goes on the inside of her face, which looks really uncomfortable to almost anyone else, and just screwing them off as 2 heavy tendrils just land on the gurney.
Oh. Well, I suppose modular does work.
This is one of the few things I installed myself. So yes.
So now we come to, I don't know, a question for some that is uncomfortable. Would you like your old body returned?
Please. I actually still have many intentions for it.
Okay. Then we will see on getting, we will see about getting that all bagged up for you afterwards.
Appreciate it. I'm glad this was a question that came up instead of me having to have an awkward talk with the doctor of saying, hey, I'd like to keep the corpse.
So she then just drapes the nasal cannula over Krill's face as best she can, sort of tightens it up in the back, providing a cinch point. And she said, okay, so I just need you to continue to, and she takes a beat, inhale normally.
Even Krill's kind of thinking, note that they're connected. They're connected. Yeah.
Okay, so just continue to inhale normally. And I'm just gonna and she just count down back from 100. And she just starts turning it on.
99, 98, 97, 96.
And as Krill fades into unconsciousness, Nurse Joy steps from the room, and she slides into. She takes the wheelchair with her, and steps back out into the waiting room, and she goes, "Could someone?"
Yep, I'm here. Let me check the weight on the body first before I pick it up. I might need your help on it. I don't know how heavy it is.
Uridella astroforms, from my understanding, shouldn't weigh too much more than a normal person. Like, they're pretty fine-tuned mechanics. They're not shit built like Krill.
Patty doesn't know, so she's just wanting to check it first.
Am I at all
I
wrong?
might be able to assist.
Right. I forget there's a whole ass fucking robot here. Right. Go ahead, Troy.
Troy just walks over and cradles the body in his arms. Where would you like this?
Nurse Joy looks at Troy and has like a sort of, all of a sudden she comes alive a little bit. Nurse Joy is like, oh, well, what a strapping young gentleman. In the chair, please.
Troy doesn't have any outward reaction to that, but he's feeling a little kind of, mixed feelings about that. As he just follows her in and with the body.
In the chair, please.
Oh, right. He just gently sets the chair down. Or the body in the chair, sorry.
As you do, Nurse Joy grabs your arms and goes, oh, so strong.
Thank you. My cybernetic muscular structure is capable of exceeding 4 times the average human strength.
She pulls back. I bet it can. You gonna be here later, big boy?
I will be around to assist Krill once the procedure is finished.
Good. And she takes the chair and turns around and starts heading down the hallway with the chair. And you see Doc Mac coming out of the employee locker room, and they sort of in the hallway come back together. And there's a brief moment of pause in front of the surgical suite as you hear the sort of hissing and hum, and you see a bright light sort of turn off as the surgical suite has sterilized itself between procedures. And the doors open, and Doc Mac just goes, I'll take it from here. And he takes the body in, and he steps back outside and pushes a button on the wall, and you see the light flash again a few more times as the artificial body is run through essentially a dishwasher cycle to sterilize it as well. He steps back in. Nurse Joy heads back down the hallway, dips into the locker room really quickly, scrubs up herself, comes back into the exam room, takes the gurney, starts walking it down towards the surgical suite. Brief pause as the doors recognize Nurse Joy's identification tags on her. The doors open, and as they do, she pushes the gurney into place. In the heart of the Shard's medical facility's sterile surgical suite, you see Doc Mac methodically preparing for the procedure that will forever change Krill's existence. The Uridella Astra Netrunner Full Body Augmentation Unit 4.2, standing there in the corner with the arm attached to the back of it, just holding it in place. A sleek, enigmatic marvel of cybernetic engineering, standing as a promise of a new life for Krill, ready to host your brain. Nurse Joy, having regained herself after a moment of fluster, her typical calm and collected demeanor returning, readies the equipment and assists in aligning the surgical tools. The room humming with the soft whir of machinery and the distant echoes of other life or death operations that happened within these walls. Camera cuts. Troy. You've got a few
Patty's still in the
Yeah.
Patty's still in the room?
Patty?
Troy just kind of innocently says, the nurse seemed unusually kind.
Yeah, she did. And Patty's just poking at her own muscles. Motherfucking robot gets all goddamn attention. Alright, so I gotta take Dalton home. Do you mind staying here until Krill's get out of her thing?
I had already assumed that was the plan.
Alright, cool. You've got me on Codex. If anything happens, I'm gonna get a second set of boots for my house. It's a little more worn, but still usable. I'm gonna make sure Dalton gets home safe, make sure he's all tucked in and shit. You've got Karen on speed dial if you need to do something else, so, you know. Just be safe, okay, bud?
Considering our usual track record, I am not entirely certain I can make that promise, but I will attempt my best effort.
Be as safe as you can. And she picks up Dalton. Hey, Terrence, is my shit clean yet?
Oh, let me look for you.
Alright, thanks. I
Terrence
swear, that person fucking hates me.
Terrence gets up and goes into the employee room and comes back, holding your clothes neatly folded in a pile and holding your boots with pinky out and just sort of
Thanks. I really appreciate it. And she gives like that really awkward smile. She's like trying to be nice. And
Terrence, without cracking a smile, says, "You're welcome."
okay. My friend Troy here is going to be until Krill's done. So if you need anything, you can talk to him. He's cool. He's not weird.
I'm used to weird.
Troy just kind of does a wave.
Terrence looks at you and nods.
All right. Patty just quickly pulls the boots on. Do you mind if I go around the back since our car's parked there again?
Would be fine.
Okay, thanks. And she pulls Dalton and am I good to open the door or do you have to do the whole thing on your end? Cool. And just pushes Dalton through his unconscious body at the moment and eventually goes out the back and just puts him in the car and locks him up.
Give me an athletics roll.
No problem. He is a heavy boy. -1, that's a +1.
You struggle a bit, but you get it done.
It's that hobbled foot. It's fucking with me right now. Can't get a like good amount of full pressure on it. But she puts him in, gets the seatbelt on, and then climbs in the driver's seat. And she's going to go real smooth, real easy. Go like the easiest roads possible.
Give me a driver's
And
check.
we're doing it. That's a +1.
Congratulations. You pull out of the parking area, the loading dock area, successfully merging into traffic, leading away from the shard.
She leans over. You know, if you were conscious, you would probably actually be proud of me right now. And she just keeps driving.
As you pull down the road, give me a roll.
Okay. Give me a second. +2.
Okay. Then you successfully maintain your attention. None of the hollow ads dotting the side of the street distract you. You maintain a focus on your task.
She's more relaxed in medic mode, but she's still very much, I'm taking care of a patient. I got to make sure he gets home safe. That kind of mentality. So she's like fixated. She's actually perfectly putting on the blinkers. She's stopping at the stop sign. So she's actually following the process right now.
As Patty pulls away with Dalton's unconscious body, the camera, sort of following it down the road from behind, stops as Patty goes through the stoplight and just sort of holds its position. And the camera cuts. And we're back in the waiting room with Troy. What are you doing, Troy?
Well, after Patty left and Krill's now in the procedure, Troy just sat back down on one of the chairs, and he's feeling kind of weird. A lot just kind of happened right now. He just saw possibly the most human thing he's ever seen in the whole fucking world, which is just a series of unimaginable screw-ups, which technically he was a part of. And he's kind of growing impatient, both with himself and with everything around him. And he needs to be somewhere else. He needs to go hang out with competent people for a little while. So Troy's body just stiffens up as his consciousness leaves and logs onto the net, and he makes his way straight to Club 2600.
As Troy finds his way into the net, down the main street, passing the cornucopia of avatars and advertisements that still blast Troy, having not customized or scraped any of this stuff yet from his interface. As you find your way down a side street, passing by a corner tea shop, down an alleyway, stepping into the abyss, the darkness that is the entranceway to 2600. From nothingness to lights and music and a beat, you find yourself in Club 2600. Just a variety of people. Some huddled around the tables, some by the bar. But what catches your eye as you walk in is that passerby, Rez, and Grim on the upper deck, where passerby holds court. Passerby catching your eye sort of grins and gestures to come upstairs.
Troy's actually quite pleased by that. He wanted to talk to someone familiar for once and wanted to go say hi to his old friends. So he quite eagerly climbs up the stairs to the upper deck.
As you approach, passerby just sort of gestures to a chair, sort of indicating to pull up a seat, as it were.
Troy takes the chair and states, "Greetings. It's been a moment since we've last talked."
Passerby looks at you and goes, Troy Bot. And Grim looks at you and says, "Hey there, Troy Bot."
"Greetings, Grim."
Rez says, "1 second, dear." So anyway, we're gonna do the job. And passerby goes, "Need I remind you not to have a repeat of the last time you did a gig like this?" And Rez just looks at Grim and goes, "Yes, Grim, let's not have a repeat of the last time we did a job like this." And he goes, "It's not my fault. You took forever inside. Look, I can only hold them off for so long." Rez goes, "What I do is art, dear. It takes time." Passerby just looks at the two of them, grinning for a moment. He goes, "Children, simply return to me safely." Rez goes, "Call me a child again, I'm gonna hunt you down, old man." Passerby is like, "Okay." Rez goes, "So, are you intending to go back out there?" And passerby just looks at her and goes, "Yeah." She's like, "I wish you wouldn't." He's like, "I'll be fine." She's like, "I really wish you wouldn't. You're becoming obsessed. He's like, I am fine. Besides, I'm not going out there immediately. I have things to do first here. There's maintenance to be done. He's like, I'm sure I'll be here when you even get back. So, no worries. She's like, I do anyway. He's like, I'm fine. He goes, but passerby takes a beat, looks at you, Troy, grins for a second. He's like, I have an idea, though. Why don't you take Troybot with the two of you? And
Troy just kind of looks excitedly over at Grim and Rez.
Grim looks exceedingly hesitant. Rez looks sort of neutral to the idea. And Grim says, he will slow us down. Rez goes, I'm sure we can find a place to stash him out of the way. Besides, we're doing the surveillance. I mean, come on, you'll be fine. And we could just leave him on the Nexigrid tower. Grim's like, this is your call. She's like, nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll just leave him up on the Nexigrid tower. He can watch. Passerby just sort of grinning at the chaos he likes to sow between these two. He's like, yeah, show the boy how it's done. Show him what a couple of professionals get up to. And with
That would be very interesting in the learning opportunity.
With this statement, Grim sort of takes it as a challenge from passerby. That, like, show them what a couple of professionals do, especially after the comment about not like last time. And Grim sort of steals his medal, as it were. He turns, he goes, fine. Yeah, actually, you know what? It's a good idea. Why don't we take the kid out and show him how it's actually done in the field? Seeing as nobody else is teaching the kid anything. And passerby with the look of a parent who has successfully convinced a child to clean their room. Sort of, just, that's a good idea. Well, I'm going to get up to maintenance. He uses this word casually, furtively, and vaguely. So, Rez and Grim get up. Rez and Grim stand up, and Grim just looks at Troy and goes, "All right, Troybot, you're with us then."
Troy, with the eagerness of an excited child, stands up.
Passerby sort of, for a moment, drops the jovial act and goes, "Rez." And she looks back. He goes, "Be safe." Rez and Grim start walking down the platform. I assume you follow.
Oh yeah, Troy is eagerly following right behind them.
The three of you leave Club 2600 down the alleyway, down a side street, out into the main street, heading towards one of the terminal hubs. You hop on to the first terminal hub, and you see Bubble appear around all three of you.
Very interesting.
Grim and Rez just look at you and go, "We've secured our communications between the three of us, so we can actually talk without being listened in on while we're on public networks." We've taken what for some, I suppose, could be a risky job. We accepted a contract from Guardian Eye. Now, give me either a lore roll or give me in narration questioning. Your call.
What is Guardian Eye?
Guardian Eye is a cybersecurity subsidiary of Red Sea Corporation. We've accepted a job from them because sometimes they have jobs that, well, and Grim just interjects. He goes, they don't want to get caught with their pants down when they fuck with a competitor.
I see.
Rez just goes, I wouldn't have put it that bluntly, but yes. They've contracted with us to infect a third-party alternative, Watchtower Cybersecurity, who's on the come up and making advances. And Guardian would like a monitoring virus placed within their mainframes, within one of their network operation centers, so they can keep an eye on any product or customer developments that may be occurring. Corporate espionage is sort of a good portion of our income. You try to avoid working with, for, or going after the mega corporations, but they pay well. Grim just sort of chuckles. He's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. As you get off at the first stop on the terminal, on the main transit terminal hub, you find your way very quickly to the base of a towering skyscraper. Sitting at the sort of base of this, Grim looks at you and goes, this Troybot is a tier 1 network provider. This building right here represents peerless communication with all of the other networks on the net. This hub is one of several hubs that connect everything. From the top of that building, we can see just about everything. They start walking towards one of the doors. As they do, you see Rez and Grim's outfits just change. And suddenly you notice there's a uniform. There's employees entering this building. And Grim just pauses for a second, turns around and says, don't worry, Troybot, we didn't forget about you. And you see his deck come up and something, he just, with the flick of a finger, and what pops up on your HUD is authentication token stored. And you see your outfit change as well.
Very fascinating.
They start walking towards the building, and the employee section, the employee door, just sort of dematerializes for each avatar passes through. As you pass through the door, on the other side, what you see is everybody going to certain specific locations, and Rez and Grim sort of duck into this little side closet.
Just seeing that sudden movement, Troy is a little taken aback, and there's just the moment of hesitation of going, wait, what? Before he also clambers into the closet right behind them.
Once you're inside, the three avatars are sort of squished in here, and you see Rez sort of grin, and she goes, oh, fuck's sake. Don't keep the boy waiting. Grim just goes, fine. I was just getting comfortable. And there's this sort of palpable back and forth between Rez and Grim that you're just maybe noticing. There's something there. Now, whether there's something active there or not is another matter. But there's something there. And Grim's deck comes up, and with a flick of his finger, all of a sudden, you're on the top of the building.
How is that possible?
Rez turns and says, we may have been contractors on the job to construct this place, and we may have left ourselves a little back door to provide complete access to their entire network. Maybe.
Are there many backdoors like these in facilities similar to this?
Depends if we put them there or not.
Fascinating.
As you walk towards the edge of the building, all three of you, Rez and Grim stop by the edge, and they just sort of gesture, and Grim points. And off in the distance, you can see a building. Thick walls, security drones, tons of guards, and a single line of what looks to be employees and customers going through this secure checkpoint as this high security facility is checking the credentials, authenticating the tokens, verifying the biometric data on each individual avatar that makes its way through this data center. Grim, catching your attention, he goes, but look over there, Troy. And this is the first time Grim's ever called you Troy. He says, but look over there, Troy. And he points to the side of the building. And you see non-uniformed, custom avatars. Purchased avatars. Just casually going through the side of the building. What do you think that is, Troy?
I believe those are those paid customers.
Rez leans in. She goes, good guess, but no. Those are executives and managers. The flaw in just about every security system. No C-suite manager ever wants to jump through too many security hoops. And so they always have a lower security method for themselves.
I see.
Graham looks at you and he says, so, why bother with turrets and drones and security personnel and biometric scanners when there's a lazy executive going through the side door?
I believe I am beginning to piece together where we are heading.
Grim suddenly, oh, no, Troybot.
No.
You are staying right here.
Oh.
I've heard about some of your exploits thus far. This could get you dead. This could get me dead.
I see.
So you will sit your pretty sex bot ass right here and you can watch from afar while we handle that job.
Troy has just a little look of disappointment as he says, all right, very well.
Grim looks at Rez and just sort of looks back at the situation, and they sort of come back and meet each other's eyes. And Grim just goes, Berlin? Rez looks back at him and says, Berlin, but maybe this time with fewer fuck-ups?
Berlin?
Both of them just sort of turn simultaneously and look at you and go, don't ask.
I feel compelled to, but I will comply.
Rez and Grim look at each other once more, and simultaneously, they just go, Berlin. They turn, look at you, Troy, and Rez goes, we'll be back in a minute. Stay put. And they step off the side of the building. They hit the ground silently, just landing at the foot of this building. You see, from your perched position, the both of them begin to walk straight towards the front gate, weaving their way into the traffic. These multitude of avatars that are flowing in and out of this high security complex. Suddenly, though, you see Rez's avatar go translucent, and she sinks into the ground out of view. Meanwhile, Grim's avatar, with a quick wave of his hand across his deck, suddenly surrounded by multiple barriers of light. And as soon as those multiple barriers of light come up, you see him start sprinting in through the gates, through the first entry into the security checkpoint. It's then that you can see, almost imperceptible, but Troy's system picks it up, another flash of his hand across his deck, and in front of him, a bevy of lances made of energy that shoot out and pierce the drones on either side of the checkpoint. With another flick of his wrist, the security personnel's avatars pixelate and fall apart as they're destroyed by another salvo from Grim's arsenal. Strangely, though, what?
Oh, no.
Strangely, though, you do see him pause. Almost seemingly waiting for security reinforcements. And arrive they do. What looks to be multiple sysadmin avatars, security drones, attack protocols, the works start falling out of the sky. They all open up on Grim simultaneously. Grim's defenses holding, though we see in the camera an up-close shot of his face showing a grimace and a wince from time to time as slowly as one barrier and another begin to fall to that onslaught. A camera angle shows briefly a stopwatch in the upper right-hand corner of Grim's HUD. As it ticks down, you hear him mutter quietly, "You better be on schedule, Rez." With that, we cut to the side of the building, and you see Rez's ethereal shape take form in front of the door. And as she reaches forward, you watch as her avatar is seemingly vacuumed up into a biometric scanner. We follow into the device, seeing a spark traveling along circuits through transistors, logic gates, and suddenly her avatar takes form on the other side of the door. And with that, it becomes opaque once more. As another avatar passes by her, you watch as there's a flash of her avatar. It takes the shape of that passing avatar. She heads off down a hallway, sidesteps into a room marked Network Operations Center. And inside there, we see personnel from the security firm in full-on panic mode as they're dealing with the attempted brute force attack on their front-facing portal. And we hear Rez say to herself in that moment, "Hang in there, big guy." Camera cut. With practiced hands, Doc Mack initiates the delicate removal of Krill's brain from her existing body. a task made all the more challenging by the intermingled mess of organic and robotic elements. The air in the surgical suite growing thick with a unique smell of sterilized metal and synthesized fluids.
Not to mention the tank that her brain is in must just reek on its own. Those fluids, she has been recreating the chemicals that preserved her for years in that space. None of the flesh in that jar can smell anything but like decay.
Nurse Joy, skillfully managing the life support device that's to cradle Krill's brain, ensuring that every parameter is flawlessly checked, rechecked, and maintained. Doc Mac's hands almost dance above Krill's head, deftly navigating the maze of flesh, wires, and circuitry. Guided by the same Metascan real-time imaging technology that provided the high-definition hologram of Dalton's foot, but this time showing neural imagery. The fusion between her human and robotic components, a labyrinthine nightmare.
Microfiber nerves replacing what once was tissue connecting the brain to the spine.
Each millimeter traversed requires the utmost of precision. Slightest miscalculation could mean irreparable damage to both brain and the enmeshed cybernetic interfaces. A challenge even for a seasoned surgeon like Doc Mac. The brain, though once free, is gently submerged into a solution that begins to impregnate the gray matter with nanoparticle machines. A ballet of tiny movements that signify the first step in the process of replication.
Would those expel any foreign components unneeded as well?
You shall see. Time beginning to slow as the nanomachines tirelessly weave an intricate neural matrix, replicating Krill's neural pathways and constructing an electronic system that gleams with the promise of full sensory duplication. Doc Mac, his brow furrowed in concentration, monitors the progress, his experienced eyes tracing the ethereal weave of technology and biology. Nurse Joy, ever attentive, anticipating the doctor's every need, her hands gliding from one piece of equipment to the next in a well-choreographed production of medical proficiency. Krill, you find yourself standing on a beach. Waves softly crashing against the shore. The gentle sea breeze caressing your face. Everything about this scene feels hauntingly familiar, like a half-forgotten memory. As you look down, you see an intact human body. A pang of nostalgia washes over you. You suddenly feel younger. Maybe not yet a teenager? The sun glimmers in the sky, casting a golden glow over the scene, over your body, over your skin. You can feel the warmth from it. There's something off in the distance. A figure? A voice. A voice calling out. A woman. Blurry, blurry-faced, but there's a warmth in her voice. Love? She calls out your name. A name that you can't quite hear. You can't quite make it out. A name that eludes you, but it is most definitely yours. As she calls out to you, you feel the warm sand beneath your feet as you begin to give chase. Camera cuts. Dalton. Suddenly you're standing in front of your apartment door.
There's a second of hesitation, as if Dalton is confused as to how he got here, but it's immediately wicked away, and Dalton just goes, "Oh, yeah." Looks for his keys and opens his door.
As you walk into your apartment, it looks like a hurricane has torn through this room. The walls are damaged. There are holes in the ceiling, which, strangely enough, through which you can see the sky. As you walk in, there are drones flying around everywhere. Little miniature drones, running wire, patching holes.
There's an uneasiness to Dalton. Doesn't know what it's coming from, though.
As you walk in, you hear from the couch, "Hey there, bud."
Hey, is this my apartment? Something feels weird here.
No, this is the inside of your head. You did a number on yourself.
Ow. Oh. Yeah, I guess that does hurt. Usually you're outside my head. We're both in my head?
Yeah. Why don't you come on over and have a seat on the couch? Take a load off. Relax. You've been through a lot.
Dalton stands there feeling almost like not like a full bruising sensation. When he touches his head, just feels a little bit of a ring of pain and just takes a second. Yeah, okay. And he goes and sits down on the couch.
As you sit down, there's a beer waiting for you. There's a TV in front where there normally would be. And just as you sit down, Giordano goes, "Oh, show's back on." And suddenly, as he says that, "Welcome back to A Slave to Ratings. I'm your host, Maximilian Flash, and tonight's elimination challenge is Implant Impulse. Watch as our contestants navigate through obstacles, but as always, the audience decides the twist." Maximilian, go ahead.
He just opens the beer.
Maximilian Flash. A name synonymous with flair and spectacle, is the charismatic host of A Slave to Ratings. Standing at an impressive height with a broad-shouldered build, Maximilian's appearance is as dazzling as his personality. His hair, a shade of platinum blonde, is slicked back, reflecting studio lights. A signature sparkling silver suit adorning his appearance, with subtle neon accents clinging to his frame. matched with futuristic pointed shoes, of course. Maximilian Flash, more than just a host, a symbol of entertainment. His name is a promise of a thrilling, unforgettable show. Vibrant blue eyes holding a twinkle that never seemed to dim. His smile always ready, showcasing impeccably white teeth. Standing next to two contestants, an elimination challenge. Orion, standing tall, muscular, prominent jawline, and a buzz-cut brown hair. Orion's arms partially cybernetically enhanced, giving him a powerful appearance. His clothes tactical, functional, often carrying an adorned gadgetry and utility belts. Orion grins. Bring it on, I'm ready for anything. Standing next to him, Luna, sleek, mysterious, cybernetic eye that glows a soft blue. Her silver hair cut in an asymmetrical bob. Her slender frame moves with graceful confidence. She's wearing elegant, form-fitting attire with holographic accessories. Luna says, I can do this. The camera cuts back to Maximilian Flash. The audience has voted, Luna. Your implant will force you to hop on one leg through the next obstacle course. And Orion looking smug, grinning. And Orion, the audience has voted for you to experience intense fear. Suddenly, there is a brief pause, and Luna is suddenly standing and balancing on one leg as Orion, terrified, struggling. I can't. What was that? Suddenly paranoid, freaked out beyond belief. Luna, on one leg, is he?
He's
The
slave to
feds
ratings.
finally got
Wow, I
him.
thought it was going to be Dalton.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Welcome back.
Luna on one leg hops over, past, around, through the obstacles, maintaining her balance like a champ. Meanwhile, Orion struggles as his fear has reduced him to a blubbering mess, hugging walls, crawling around corners, rapidly being left behind by Luna. Maximilian turning to camera. Who will master the implant impulse? Stay tuned after this message by this episode's sponsor. And you see the text on the screen. Cyber Chase, Road to Redemption. There's video, high-speed chase scenes through Zone 2 with flashes of neons and sparks coming off the side of the cars.
It's affecting Dalton.
We
as he's
cut
watching
and
it.
see Dalton's face, just grimacing and affecting this, being affected by this. Suddenly, back to the TV, a flash of corporate logos, including Blue Sky Corp. It ends with a roaring vehicles logo with the words Redemption or Ruin. Voiceover says, once the fastest man on wheels, now a journey to nowhere. Watch as former racers battle it out in the underworld, controlled by the corporations in a race for redemption or ruin. Cyber Chase, Road to Redemption. Tuesdays at 9 on Neon Nights. As the TV comes back from commercial, there's a brief but readily apparent glitching and shuddering in your reality. Camera cuts. Patty, what you doing?
It's been quiet for the most part. She's gone like more off the less main road, so she's trying to avoid the hustle and bustle of the main highway. So it's a little more of a slower pace, but she's going a little more safely. So she's probably just pulling into one of the parking spots in their apartment, close as she can to get to the elevator. Oh, God. You know what, Dalton? I'm going to say, out of my driving time, I'll give myself a solid 6 out of 10 there. That, I missed that one stoplight turning left, but it wasn't too bad. And she just readjusts the head just to make sure it's balanced up again.
So, arriving to your shared apartment complex, pulling into the parking area, how do you propose? How does Patty go about getting Dalton to his apartment?
She does have a wheelchair in her apartment because this is not the first time she's done things like this. So she makes sure he's comfortable. She locks both doors. It's going to take her a quick 2 minutes to get in and get out. So she's like, all right, it's going to be right here for the moment. She sends a quick a message to Troy. Hey, got to get a wheelchair out of my apartment. Yeah. And she just quickly
There is no response.
Cool. She just quickly bustles to her apartment, like hitting the elevator button, waiting for it to like finally open up, and then she hops in, hits her apartment number, and then just waits for it to go. She's like, come on, come on, come on, come on. I don't want to leave him alone for too long. Come on. And she's like in that impatient mode as she's waiting to get the wheelchair. And closes soon enough, and then she's like, all right. And it finally lifts her up, takes like a couple seconds. She's like, all right, cool. Pulls out her keys, goes to her door, goes in quickly, closes it behind her, goes into her closet, pulls out the wheelchair, probably knocks some dust off, and then she quickly starts rolling it back to the elevator and quickly hits the button again as it's probably slipped down to somebody. She's like, come on. And then it opens up, and she's like, in that moment, she's like impatiently, but there's like a second level of thought. She's like, okay, I have fucked up way too many times. I'm walking with a busted ass foot, some messed up shoulders. Like, what am I doing with my life? And she's like yelling, like basically you can imagine like two Patties are like beating the shit out of each other in her head as they're like arguing. No, like it's perfectly fine. And then the other one's like winning the more dominant position. No, we fucked up too many times. Come on. And it's like she's now like waiting in the elevator, like the argument is still going in her head as she's like trying to figure a way out, figure a way forward. She maybe checks her like codex to see if there's any form response. There's still fucking nothing. She's like, okay, what's the first step? Take care of yourself. What's the second step? Take care of the patient. What's the third step? Get into a better position to better take care of yourself and take care of other patients. So first step, after we get Dalton, boots. Maybe get some food in us. Okay. And she just shuts off her emotions as she's like going back into a familiar feeling. And then she eventually pulls up the wheelchair beside Dalton and unlocks the car, opens it up, and she puts him inside. Do I need a roll for it or?
Yeah, give me a roll.
All right. +0, so it's a +2.
You're fine.
Yeah, she manages to put him in, locks the door, and she's like, okay, take care of the patient. And she's like, the frenzy in her head is like dialed down as they're like, okay, we can put our shit together for a moment to get what we need to get done. And she puts him in the elevator. She's waiting, gets towards his apartment, and she eventually just like pulls some keys out of his pocket, opens up his place, and then drives him towards the couch, locks the door behind, and she generally lifts him onto the couch. She puts like a nice solid soft pillow under his head. She's like, you know, if there's any place he wants to be, it's going to be the couch. Like that.
Give me a notice roll.
Okay. That's a -1, so that's going to be a 0. So it's just a -1.
Okay.
And as soon as she sets him down, she's like, okay, order priority done. Now I got to take care of myself. She takes like a glass of water on the table beside the couch. She gets like some food, just like a few snack bars. She's like, okay, he's going to be okay for the next couple hours. His codex is right there. And she takes a little sticky note. Here's your codex. Check it when you wake up. And she sends a quick message to Dalton while he's asleep. You're taken care of. Your concussion, your injured foot. You're gonna wake up in a couple hours. Troy is currently with Krill. She's in surgery. Aaron, and then Patty pauses as she's sending that. Haven't checked in on Karen in a while, and she puts the codex back, and she sends that whole message to Dalton for when he wakes up. And then she opens it up and opens up the door, and she like locks the doorknob behind her so it'll lock when she closes it, and closes it behind, and she makes her way to her apartment. It's like she throws away the old boot, and she gets those like older like first set of boots she got when she was in medtech. They're a little worn, but they're still solid quality. And okay, now I've taken care of myself. She eats a little bit, takes a hint of whatever alcohol she has laying around, not much, just enough to take the edge off. And she's like, okay, I need to take care of myself, I need to improve myself, but that's not happening anytime soon, so what's next? Check on the others. Krill is in surgery, Troy is doing his thing. I assume he's fine. The medical people would send a message if there's a problem. Let's check on Karen. And she sends a message to Karen. Hey, Krill's in surgery. Dalton's sleeping it off in his apartment. You good?
You don't hear a response.
As you send that message, camera cuts. And we see inside Karen's purse a little flash on her codex. And then we come outside. Karen, you're in front of the apartment. What do you do?
Kind of animatedly compose myself a little and knock on the door as loud as I can.
Dear, there's a door. I'm in the kitchen. You get it. Hold on. Door opens, and there's a older gentleman standing there, pot-bellied. Yeah.
Hi, is she here? Is she here? I need to know. I need to know if she's here.
Who are you talking about?
Janine.
Honey, I think there's a saleswoman here for you. Did you buy something?
Oh, you think this is about a sale? Oh, you must be... what did she say? Dick? No. David. You must be David, aren't you?
Yes. Who are you? You see a grandmotherly type actually come around the corner holding a plate of cookies.
Is that you? Is that you, Janine?
Yes, dear. Do I know you? Would you like a cookie?
So everything is a lie to you. Literally everything is a lie to you?
I think there may have been a mistake or some confusion. Would you, I mean...
Are you not Janine Moss?
I mean, yes.
What kind of a name is that? Oh, and that's your stupid husband. You've told me all about him. Do you not remember me?
Dearie, I don't think we've ever met.
Marion. I go by Mary.
I mean,
we talk all the time.
I mean, there's Mary from the Bridge Club, but you're not Mary.
No, not on the bridge. No, from Life Cubed. The online thing.
What's a What's a cubed? No, dear. I think there's been some confusion. David, invite her in. We'll get you some. Would you like some lemonade or tea?
Neither? I don't know how I feel about this. You hate him. Why are you... We were supposed to meet last week.
The camera suddenly cuts, and we see Jigu in the alleyway. And he is crouching down outside of an egress window that's there by code. And he's cracking open his backpack. And for the first time, what you see is a full set of digital and analog burglar's tools. Jigu, even at 13, has a previous life. And you see him take a sort of just a boxy device, and you see a few lights on it, and you see him run it around the edge of the window, and you see it just sort of go dit 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 dit. And he's, you see him put it back, and he gets a little just metal tool out, and you see him just, and it's an expandable pry bar, and you see him slide it into this crack. You see him work it across into the middle where he feels it catch, and you see him drop some leverage on it and pop it. And in that moment, the window becomes free, and he just slides it up, collapses his tool back down, puts it into his backpack, closes it, zips it back up, puts it on his back, and climbs into the window. And you see him start to go door to door in this apartment as he searches. We cut back, now at a table with cookies and several drinks. And I don't know what's going on, dear. This is so confusing. I think you have the wrong apartment. I mean, I don't know how you have our names, but we are not those people.
But do you not play on Life Cubed?
Dearie, I don't even, no. I mean, I play at the Game of Life. Would you like to play? I think we might have an old copy.
I'm okay. Thanks. No, I don't understand. I've been talking to a woman for half a year. Her name is Janine. She complains about her shitty husband, David.
Sorry,
we talk all the time.
We've been happily married. I mean, we all have our ups and downs, but I think David, do you want to get her an ice pack? I think she may be having an episode.
Your username is Mel Bean Counter.
Oh.
And we met in the Robin Hood reenactment room. I was dressed as Maid Marian. You were a weird fox version of Robin. It was great.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, honey. I don't think so.
Have you lived here for 2.5 years? Exactly.
Oh, no, we've lived here much longer than that. Yeah, we were here, when they renovated this building. Right after that, we moved in. When was that? When was that, dear? And David, sitting at the table, goes, I don't know, 7-10 years ago now. Yeah, we were here for the reno.
Wait a minute. Have I been screwed this whole time? I sent you money.
Oh.
Did you not get that?
Oh, dearie, I think you may have been scammed. Yeah, I think somebody took advantage of you. And you see her like, you eat a cookie. A cookie always helps. You see David He goes, I know what helps me. And he pulls a little nip out and he puts it in the lemonade. He slides that across to you.
I think I do need something. Grabs the lemonade and takes a little sip.
Yeah, that's what helps me when, And he just sort of gestures. The camera cuts. And we see Jigu working these doors and sort of glancing furtively and nervously. And he gets to a hallway door that is locked. And you see it's got a key lock on it, even in a hallway. And he drops to a knee, opens the pack, and very deftly picks that door open. And huddled, fetal position, into the corner of that closet is Natalie. And you see her as the door opens. You see her sort of tense up and clench up a little bit and react to the opening of the door. And Jiga just goes, Natalie. And you see her just sort of glance up. And then when she realizes who's standing there, she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm here to get you out. Now come on. She crawls. She doesn't, the closet doesn't stand up immediately. She crawls out of the door and then stands up. And she's like, I can't leave. He's like, what do you mean you can't leave? I'm here to get you out. She's like, I am not going to leave this place with my foster brothers and sisters still locked up. He's like, we have to go now. Miss Karen is out there distracting them right now. We have to go. She's like, and you see her plant her foot. I am not leaving without them. And Jigu just sort of, okay, well, we have to hurry. Just, okay. And they go down the hall towards that window, but they break left, and you see them enter a bedroom. The couple's bedroom. And they go to a closet. And she walks into the closet, and you see Natalie reach into the back of the closet, and you hear a click. And the back of the closet sort of just pops open just a little bit as she pushes the door open. Standing before them is a dark set of stairs. And as they make their way down, you see through the camera a sort of dank, industrial, repurposed section that could have been made under the cover of a building renovation. As they get towards the bottom of the step, Natalie reaches over to the left and flicks a light switch. And Jigu freezes. We see Jigu's face sort of just drain a little bit. As Natalie continues forward, the camera pans around. And what you see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cages lining the walls with 8 children in them. None older than a preteen. And in the middle of the room, there's a bed set with a holographic recording suite surrounding it. Jigu, taking all of this in, having it dawn on him what Natalie meant when she said, or worse, just says, Natalie, what is this place? And Natalie turns and says, not now, Jigu. Not right now. And Jigu just sort of snaps out of it. He's like, okay. And he starts moving. and you see him rush to those cages, and he drops that pack again, and 1 lock, 2 locks, 3 locks, 4 locks, those little fingers flying like they've never flown before, 5 locks. Natalie leading these kids up the stairwell towards that window. 1, 2, 3, helping them out the window as one of the older kids helps them out of the window from the bottom. The last kid gets out, and Jigu starts to help Natalie out the window. As she hits the bottom, she turns around and looks at Jigu, and Jigu's closing the window. The camera cuts as Jigu turns around, and you see a blade slide down his sleeve. Troy. The camera cuts back and we see Grim with his stopwatch in the top right corner of his HUD, inching ever closer to 0. You see him wince up close, just a bit, as we see the bevy of attacks landing simultaneously, and a shield shatters in front of him. We hear him say to himself, "All right, if you want to play, let's play, fucker." He waves his hand across his deck, and you can see a slightest of grins for just a brief moment before you see thousands of avatars begin to try and force their way through the gate as well, confusing the security team, trying to protect and manage their location. Grim has just redirected a botnet to send its traffic to their employee access portal, and it is quickly being overwhelmed. The camera cuts again, and we can see inside as Rez saddles up to a console as one of the security team rushes out of the room, trying to reinforce the front. With a wave of her hand, you see code slip down, around, and off of her arm, off of her fingertip, weaving its way into the console bank, intertwining and merging into it. A window pops up on her HUD, and you see the words, "Root access granted." Rez stands up, leaves the room, walks out of the door, exiting the building, and as she does, we can see her become translucent once more as she slips into the scanner and out. The camera cuts one more time. As we see out front, Grim's botnet has been redirected to a null page, and his shields are once again under attack by the security personnel. You, Troy, can see from atop as they launch wave after wave of missile attacks towards him. And finally, from afar, perched upon that rooftop, you can see his shield shatter as his avatar explodes into a multitude of pixels. As you do see this, you hear from behind Rez's voice. "You coming?"
Troy turns around with a sudden shock of Rez just being behind him. And he looks between her and where he just saw Grim, and he's like, "But Grim, what happened to Grim?"
"Oh, he'll meet us back at 2600. Did you... He's such a drama queen. He always likes to go out with a bang."
That wasn't the true Grim?
I'll explain on the way.
Please do.
As you journey back down, what you do is you stand on just a portion of the roof, and you see Grim flirtedly across her deck, and all of a sudden you are in a closet, like where you originated from. So you step out into the hallway and out of the main entrance. She guides you towards the terminal. As you're on the train, she puts up the bubble once again. And she says, "So you know, he's fine. What he did was essentially log off. He just logged off with a flourish so that they thought they had won."
I see. I had no idea that you could present the idea that your avatar has been destroyed. by logging off?
Some simple thematics that go along. You see the animals and the swords and the neon and the flashes and then all of the hubbubaloo that goes along with the presentation of an avatar on the net. Well, one could simply repurpose that and put on a show.
I see. Could you show me how to do that?
Well, the theatrics are more Grimm's department, but I suppose I could ask him for you. I prefer subtle.
Interesting. I have yet to decide what avenue I would best be suited for.
I find that few of us are as good as those that we look up to, and that sometimes partnership is the best way to go, where one person can lack, the other can have a strength.
I see.
As the network arrives, you arrive at the network hub, transiting down the street, main street, into a side road, down an alleyway, through the door of Club 2600. Once again, lights, music, only this time, passerbys downstairs, clapping Grimm on the back, laughing with him as Grimm reveals him. He turns and says, "Ah, my silent partner returns."
That was very enlightening.
Rez looks at him and goes, "You had the kid concerned." And Grimm just hears this and "Oh, see, you care about me already, Troybot."
I am programmed to care about all of my companions. It is a compulsion within me.
I have some compulsions. Rez goes, "Yeah, and he's probably going to end up there later tonight." And she's just sort of, you see something's saying this dig towards her partner has reminded her of something. And she just turns and looks at passerby and goes, "Speaking of compulsions." And passerby looks at her and goes, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I'll be fine." Tell you what, I will settle your mind right now. Troybot, you're with me.
All right, very well.
See, I'm going to take Troybot. I'm going to take the Troybot with me. I will return him since I know you have such a soft spot for him. You don't give two shits about me. I know how this works. I will return him just fine. And Rez looks at him. She goes, "You better both return just fine."
I have no intention of dying. Though, never mind.
All right, Troy. You're with me. Passerby, as he says, "You're with me," the club sort of raises to a crescendo. Everything is getting brighter. Everything is getting louder. You can see there is some level of anticipation going on here. As he walks, do you follow?
Yes. And as he walks, he comments as he's watching the fanfare of the club just kind of change with with passerby's exit. He just notes you fuck. You guys certainly seem to have the flair for the theatrics.
What is life but a stage, my boy? What is life but a stage? As you step through the door into the alleyway, out to the street, a sleek car pulls up in front of you. The doors open, and passerby gets in.
Troy gets in on the other door.
Doors close. Virtual car. Machine born of raw code. Crafted with elegance. A digital marvel. Engineered for the wastelands of the net. An amalgamation of passerby's hacking prowess and mastery. Its shape fluid, reflecting both a retro style of the old net and the futuristic sheen of a world without boundaries. Camera cuts. We find ourselves back in the surgical theater, with the neural matrix securely in place. Now, the more challenging portion of the procedure unfolds. The removal of the spike probes becomes a critical juncture in this procedure, a stage that demands the convergence of art, science, and technology. The probes, remnants of an earlier era of augmentation, are embedded deep within Krill's neural pathways, intertwined with both biological and cybernetic elements, relics. Yet, their removal requires an understanding of a technology that, while obsolete, is unforgiving in its complexity. Doc Mack, guided by years of experience and cutting-edge technology, approaches the task with the care that one might afford a delicate artifact. Nurse Joy's eyes are fixated on her monitors, tracking the progress, her hands at the ready with specialized tools designed to extract the probes without disturbing the surrounding neural architecture. The room filled with a hushed silence and a palpable sense of anticipation, each heartbeat a reminder of the stakes involved, punctuated only by the rhythmic beeping of machines and the occasional soft command from Doc Mack. Clamp. Neural retractor. Forceps. Each probe's extraction, a miniature victory, a step closer to a new life. But the process is slow, methodical, and fraught with potential pitfalls. The probes are removed one by one, their metallic surfaces glinting under the bright surgical lights as they're carefully placed into a tray. Clink. 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 As the last probe is finally freed. A collective sigh of relief fills the room. The painstaking task, a balance between honoring the past and embracing the future, is successfully completed. The way is now clear for the nanoparticle solution to continue its transformative work, forging a new existence. Waves crashing.
Don't go, please.
As you draw, as you run, as you draw closer to the woman, running down this beach, chasing after her, the dreams begin to intensify.
She starts to feel the sand between her toes, and it feels every sensation.
Every detail around you becomes sharper. Except for the woman's face, which remains an enigmatic blur.
Please, come. No, I need to know who you are. I need to know who I am. Please.
The salty smell of the sea fills your senses. You can hear the distant laughter and chatter from other beachgoers. The woman, now within reach, turns, her arms outstretched and welcoming. Her voice, soft and melodic, continues to call your name, a name just out of grasp, lost in the haze of a dream. Emotions flooding in, a mix of joy, sadness, and a yearning for something you can't quite articulate. You finally reach the woman, feeling the warmth of her embrace.
Who are you?
Camera cuts. As the camera transitions back, we see Karen and the Mosses now standing next to the table. And as they do, from Karen's perspective, we just hear a loud, "Ow!" And David Moss drops to a knee, and you see blood spurt from one leg. And as the camera comes up from the leg, we see a much shorter Jigu now holding a blade at David's throat, having dropped him to a knee by slicing the back of one leg. Jigu leans in to David's ear and says, "You're never going to hurt Natalie again." Right. He, without hesitation, drags that blade right across his throat. The camera, watching this scene, there's no reaction on Jigu's face. If anything, you'd think he feels nothing. Mrs. Moss, reacting to this scene with horror, drops down, grabbing her husband of many years, looking up at Jigu. "What have you done? What have you done?" Jigu looks down at her and goes, "I rid the world of a bug." She looks at Jigu and she lunges. In this moment, the first time, Karen gets to see the true face of Mrs. Moss. And it twists into meanness and evil and anger and rage as she lunges at Jigu, saying, "I'll kill you, you little bitch!" Any reaction from Karen?
Karen had a hand down at her purse when the husband first fell and first noticed Jigu with a knife around his neck. Karen put a hand to her purse. Now, at the triggering of her launching, Karen pulls out her pistol to fire at her lower half, as far away from Jigu as I can.
Give me a roll.
+3.
It is a +6 in total. Where do you want that round to go, and what do you want it to do?
I want it to go through the Achilles tendon of the leg that she's launching herself off the ground with.
As the leg that she's pushing off with to try and lunge at Jigu with gives way, she falls, and you see Jigu just spin the blade around, and as she comes down, she lands right on it. You see Jigu just as she falls. He spins the blade, and it right back up that sleeve. We should go, Miss Karen.
Yes, we should. And Karen grabs the drink that she took a sip from, pours it out all over the now dead pieces of crap, and I'm going to take this with me. It's got my fingerprints.
Good call. You leave through the front door. Jigu walks out to the street, and you see him glance down, and you see a group of children making their way around the corner, and you see Max coming out behind, and he left, right, trying to decide which direction to go. And you see Jigu just motion to Max. And Max runs after Natalie, who is last around the corner, and you see her glance down the street at the two of you as she sort of takes Max maternally and just glances for a second. And you can tell she's looking right at Jigu. And then she looks away and around the corner. Jigu pulls out his codex and just starts walking down the street. As you do, he looks at you and says, "Thank you, Miss Karen."
Thank you for coming to me.
Can you not tell Natalie what I did?
Absolutely.
As you round the corner away from the house, you see him push a button on the codex, and moments later, a car comes pulling up, and he opens the door for you.
Are you not coming with?
He gets in.
We did a good thing. Thank you for doing that. I needed that.
I didn't do it for you.
I wouldn't want you to, but thank you regardless.
As you get in and the door closes, the camera cuts. Dalton. We find you back in your apartment, having watched a full episode of Slave to Ratings with Giordano.
That was a good one.
It was. Oh, I didn't think she was gonna. I didn't think Luna had what it takes, but the audience completely kneecapped Orion. It was hilarious. He deserved to get his comeuppance on that.
And it was nice to see Orion just shit himself in fear. Just perfect.
It's always great to see one of those like strapped, muscular young dudes. Fucking, yeah, that's
just
right.
lock up.
Yeah, he didn't have what it takes. No one like that kind of guy. He hasn't dealt with real fear or anything real in his life.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of real fear, am I dying?
Oh, no, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
As
Just double checking.
As you look around, like the place is literally like more patched up. The roof is now on it. The walls are sort of like reassembled. And he's like, "No, you're fine, my dude. This is just sort of the inside of you. That's all."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a whole construct thing.
Okay, it felt to me like the kind of thing you see before you die. And to be honest, no disrespect to you, but if like you were the only person I saw at the end of my life, I might be an asshole.
Oh, well, been there. You might be disappointed.
Noted. Dalton just uneasy as hell with that inference.
Well, my guy, do you want to do anything?
I mean, I guess if I'm not dying and I'm inside my own brain, can we drive?
You're transported instantaneously to your favorite racetrack in your dream car.
Oh. You know, Giordano, it is really hard not to imagine that I am dead right now.
I mean, you're just in between.
Speaking of in between, buckle up, you're gonna end up in between something. Dalton just starts hitting it.
Every corner.
You want to?
Nope.
Okay.
Every corner, every apex, every straight. The perfect lap.
You know, Giordano, I could die right now. Now I'm fine with that.
No, you could have died a little bit ago, but now you're fine.
Okay. Also, you're in my waking life and my unconscious life. Who the hell are you?
Do you really want to know?
I mean, I personally love our little chats. It's been very eye-opening, coming to terms with some level of insanity I have inside myself. But I'd like to know you better.
Are you asking for my backstory?
I mean, we got time to kill, right?
Yeah, we do. All right, fair enough. How do you ask?
Giordano, but everybody calls me Bruno, calls you Bruno. What is your backstory? Where are you from?
Well, I was an engineer for Uradella.
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. You were an engineer. What are you now?
Now I'm a distributed computing platform.
Do I have a chip in my brain?
In a way, you do. They do. Everyone does.
Iradella's the massive tech company, right? Like,
They specialize in bioengineers, cybernetic implants, and enhancements. Yes.
Okay. And when did you stop being an engineer?
About a decade ago.
So not to pose this question on to you after asking about it for myself, but were you alive and now you're dead and this is a construct of something between?
You know, I've thought about this a lot. And I don't have an answer for you, Dalton.
Okay.
That's
okay.
Can you tell me if you're alive or dead?
Not specifically in this liminal space. I thought I was alive before and there's like a moment of pause, and like Dalton kind of like 1,000-yard stares for a second.
Giordano takes that moment and goes, "It gets confusing, doesn't it?"
Yeah. Did I beat a man to death? I'm having trouble remembering right before.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Low key, not cool, but glad I just remembered that, I guess. I don't really know what I am now that you posed the question back to me. I don't even know if my brain is made of meat or computers at this point.
Well, let me ask you a question. What are you? Are you the meat, or are you the experiences? Or are you the memory of the experiences?
I always figured I was the meat and the experience, but now that you're posing these questions to me, I am very confused.
Well, tell you what. Now that we've started having this conversation, when you're ready and you have an answer for me, you can ask me more.
That's fair, Giordano, but everybody calls me Bruno.
Giordano?
Dalton just lost in thought.
Giordano, just sort of out of the car, out of the passenger seat, as Dalton is left to do perfect laps around his favorite racetrack in his favorite car, contemplating the existential crisis that Giordano just left him with. The camera cuts. Troy, with a hum resonating through the vehicle of a virtual wind, you accelerate out of the city, leaving behind the well-traveled paths, the monolithic digital assets, the shimmering kaleidoscope of lights and shapes that make up the sprawl of the net, where code gives form to a virtual playground, where physics and natural rule bow to the whims of the code. It becomes a distant, glimmering horizon, fading as you and passerby leave it. Here, well beyond the traveled paths, past the megacorporations' data centers, sticking out like fortress spires, lies the barren wastelands of the net, a place where few dare to tread, devoid of buildings, devoid of streets or any semblance of order. It's a wilderness of raw data and binary chaos. As you move further into the digital wilderness, the once familiar world becomes fractured and abstract. Digital debris floats by aimlessly, and code itself seems to decay, falling into disarray. The car's wheels transform, adapting to the raw data streams that form the desolate landscape, gliding smoothly over the chaos of the broken code and errant algorithms. The laws that govern the net become mere suggestions, as virtual physics morph and twist into uncanny forms. As you journey further, the headlights pierce the void, illuminating the abstract wasteland, casting long shadows over the fragments of forgotten data. The wasteland's stark beauty unfolds around you, an ever-changing canvas that defies logic. The landscape shifts and warps, but the car remains unyielding, its code adapting and evolving, a living entity in harmony with its creator. It roars and purrs, alive with virtual energy, tuned and responsive to passerbys' commands. A sense of foreboding looms over the landscape as the horizon begins to reveal something unnatural, something incompatible. A structure that stands as a testament to an unknown power. Passerby looks at you and nods. He says, "The barrier." From afar, the barrier is an imposing wall, constantly in a state of fluctuation, an endless surface comprising of hexagons that shift and twist and ripple as if alive. As they approach, it seems to come into render distance, solidifying from a distant mirage into an intimidating reality. Closer now, the wall radiates an energy that permeates the very fabric of the net. Its surface, composed of these undulating hexagons, pulses with a rhythm that echoes in the virtual world. Data streams flow across its surface like veins, a testament to its connection to something profound or something forbidden. The barrier's pulsating hexagons reflect in the car's gleaming surface as they approach, the wall's enigmatic pattern mirrored in the vehicle's fluid lines. As the vehicle stops, passerby gets out.
Troy follows suit, and his eyes are locked on that wall in pure fascination.
As you approach the barrier, you see passerby look up and down and that way and that way. At the foot of the barrier, you and passerby are dwarfed by its scale, standing before a structure that defies comprehension. It reaches higher than the eye can see and extends in all directions without end. Passerby says, "Well, my boy, this is the barrier." As you
Troy feels the compulsion to walk towards the barrier.
Passerby immediately grabs your shoulder.
Is everything all right?
I did that once.
What happened?
You see a pole, a staff manifest. And he just throws it at the barrier. And you see it hit, and you see the veins of code swirl out and onto the staff. And then it just from existence. He says, "That was my arm."
Troy just looks down at his arm and looks back up to passerby and states, "I see. What is it?"
Your guess is as good as mine. The only thing I can tell you is that from what we've been able to gather from limited limited hacks into Red Sea is that they call it containment.
Containment.
What it's
What do you-
containing, I don't know.
Why have you brought me here?
Why not? Fresh eyes? Companionship? Convincing Rez that I won't just walk into it and see if I can see the other side? I don't know. But here you are. Seeing something few get to see through eyes that most will never ever understand seeing through.
What is the sensation of beauty to a human?
Reverence. And as you stand there in reverence, it takes hold as you gaze upon an unknown. That wall stands before you. A silent guardian? Possibly. Protecting the residents of the net. Or a menacing gatekeeper of secrets yet unearthed. Camera cuts. Karen. As the vehicle that you and Jigu share head back towards your base, you notice that it doesn't stop where you guys got on, and it starts dipping down into the undersections.
Where are we going?
Natalie sent me a message. She wants to thank you in person.
All right.
It doesn't go that far. 2 levels down, not that far from the base. One of the underground warehouses, one of the many industrial storage locations, it pulls up in front of, and Jigu gets out.
I get out too.
As he walks up, he knocks on the door. Camera monitoring his movements. The door opens. As you step inside, what you find in front of you is a vast, cavernous warehouse space that is separated functionally down to in 2 sections. On the left-hand side, what you would notice is that there is an entire office section that has been converted into residential living. There are children everywhere. So many children. Coming and going, coming and going. And on the right-hand side, there is 1/2, so 1/4 of the space, has been divided into play area. It is a child's dream. It is jungle gyms and swings and rope climbs and every single thing that you could want to spend time. There are TVs and video games. It is the cornucopia of childhood set before you. And on the back half of that, as you make your way through this clattering, noisy, child-filled area, you notice the back half of that space is actual storage. It is a warehouse full of what you likely gather are stolen goods. As you walk towards that area, you see one child from the footage being chastised. You just simply hear the end of it. And you see the child who wanted to get the guns from your facility being told off by Natalie. And he walks away angrily. The kind of anger that a teenage boy can have. Natalie turns, quickly gathering herself. The kind of diplomacy, being able to switch gears, that is mildly terrifying. But she turns and she sees you. I hear from little Max that I have you in part to thank for our rescue.
I take it was a deed very much worth doing, and I'm glad to have helped.
It was. I'm happy to have gotten my foster brothers and sisters out of there. Hopefully once and for all. Her speech giving away that she may think that there is still a threat. She says, but no good deed should go unrewarded. And Max, pulling at her side, goes, Shigu helped. She's like, oh, don't worry, Max. Shigu will get his thanks. And you see Shigu blush a little bit. She walks over and she reaches her hand out to hand you something.
I'll take it.
It's a ring.
I'll look at it closer. What kind of a ring?
It is a very basic, very nondescript ring that has a simple striped pattern around it. And she looks at you and says, wear that on your left hand. No child in this city will steal from you. And if you ever need help, the Scullies will be there to assist.
Thank you.
Max tugs at Natalie's sleeve once more and goes, what about Shigu? And she goes, ah. She walks towards Shigu and he goes, it's fine. The lack of confidence that a boy can have in front of a girl immediately becomes apparent. He melts with that steely-eyed determination that he had, that you saw, just gone. But Natalie is a leader. Natalie is a person who knows that she has to take what she wants in this world. Probably somebody that Karen can see a little bit of herself in. And as Shigu is sort of flustering, Natalie takes her locket off her neck, reaches in and puts it around Jigu's neck and kisses him on the cheek. And you see him just flush and be and the kids all around you just immediately start, oh! The camera cuts. The final step in the transformative journey arrives. Doc Mack, confidence born of experience and genius, delicately places Krill's encased brain into the waiting skull of the Uradella Astra body. A symphony of connections and activations play out in a display of blinking lights and soft electronic chimes. The new body comes alive, its systems synchronizing with the electronic brilliance of Krill's mind. Nurse Joy inputs the final codes, her face lit with a smile of satisfaction and wonder. Together, once again, they have breached the frontiers of existence, crafting a new future for Krill. Krill, your eyes flicker open in the surgical room. The sensation of a dream still clinging to you. The beach, the woman's arms, the sound of your name, all of it lingers, leaving you with an unsettling feeling of loss, but also a newfound curiosity. As the realization of your new body settles in, the memory of the dream drifts away, like mist dissolving in the morning sun, leaving behind only an echo of a memory and an unspoken question. Doc Mack and Nurse Joy's faces come into focus. The room's sterile environment is a stark contrast to the vividness of the dream. Yet something has changed within you. A connection to a past you had forgotten has been reawakened. As your senses acclimate to your new body, Doc Mack wheels over a full-length mirror. The reflection that greets you, both familiar and alien. Your face bears subtly strong features and soft curves that echo locations far flung. Your light brown skin, as though kissed by sun, radiates with a lifelike glow, despite being part of an advanced cybernetic structure. Your eyes, a shade reminiscent of the tropical seas, now seem to carry a depth of wisdom and a spark of the unknown. The UA-made body has gracefully integrated its human appearance with cutting-edge technology. Your gaze, drawn to the back of your neck, where subtle ports have been skillfully embedded. They lay flush with your skin, almost concealed, if it were not for one device attached to it. Their presence signals your new capabilities and an ever-present connection to the digital worlds beyond. The ports, designed for interfacing with specialized technology, netrunner chairs, and oh so many devices, promise seamless fusion between your mind and technology. Though artificial, the craftsmanship captures the human essence quite well, and the augmentation holds the potential to unlock abilities and experience beyond your imagination. Your skin, touching the chair in which you lay, feels soft, the perfect mimicry of human touch. The future, once a mystery, now feels like an exciting landscape waiting to be discovered, and with a nod of satisfaction at a job well done, Doc Mack leans in and says, "Welcome to the new you, Krill." And we fade to black.